Hey, how's it going? So, you know that feeling you get when you spend an hour recording a video only to then realize that you didn't have your microphone plugged in? No, you probably don't, because you wouldn't do something that silly. But I did. So I sincerely apologize for the audio quality of this episode. It's a little bit echoey, but I try to be an extra 10% entertaining. Yeah, there's no way of measuring it. You don't know. Just have to watch and find out. Hello there, gang, and welcome to another episode of Displaying Moral Behaviour, the Earth's mightiest action figure video podcast. So take off your pants, crack a beer, and let's talk toys. Let's talk about the nerdy news that you need to know about. It's the only news that matters. It's good news. We've got a whole bunch of it. Let's not stand on ceremony, Mr. Wayne. Let's talk about it. First up, Hasbro Star Wars had their Fan First Wednesday and they revealed a whole metric butt ton of stuff. So much that honestly, I can't remember each and every individual thing, and some of the characters are actually a bit of a mystery to me. So I'm going to cheat, I'm going to read it off our list and show you some pretty pictures. So first of all, from the Black Series 6-inch figure line, we've got comic versions. We've got Darth Vader Infinities. So this is a bright white Darth Vader, and the Infinities are like what-if type stories. So I don't know what the actual story was behind this white Darth Vader. Maybe this is a gone to the light side of the Force, rehabilitated type Darth Vader. Although I don't quite know how you rehabilitate some of the stuff that he did, but that's a problem with Star Wars that I won't get into now. But you got white Darth Vader. He looks kind of striking. Then also you've got Princess Leia Organa, which is from the comic book artwork. This is from the Marvel Comics modern telling of Star Wars stories, and she looks kind of cool. A nice sort of typical Leia outfit that you would expect, but just a different take that we haven't seen in the actual movies before. And then finally, we've got Sergeant Creel. This isn't a character who I'm actually familiar with at all, but he still looks kind of decent. And all three of these guys are going to be available from spring of next year. Then a big one that we've got is the Black Series Deluxe Saul Guerrera. And you know, I gotta say, this is a deluxe that actually looks like it is a deluxe. The amount of tooling and sculpting on this guy, I can understand a bit more of a price hike. Sometimes you get a deluxe figure and you're like, really? That's a deluxe? Honestly, you can tell me that with a straight face. But Saul Guerrera, no, he's a big boy. He's a big chunky boy. While he's been hiding out with these terrorist type people, they're obviously, feeding him pretty well. Because he's got a bit of a derby on him. He's a chunky figure, whole lots of extras and accessories. So he looks pretty awesome, actually, I gotta say. Then we go over to Gaming Greats with RC1027 Sev. Yeah, you can tell I just read that off a list. I have no idea about this guy, but hey, for you completist collectors, there's definitely going to be a space on your shelf for him, isn't there? The Vintage Collection gets some love with Shay Vizia. Don't know who that is, but again, she's going to be available in the fall of this year. And then one that I do know, we have Lando Calrissian from Solo, A Star Wars Story. It is kind of funky disco sort of attire. He actually looks pretty cool. So for the Vintage Collection, these are very fun, and they're both going to be available, as I said before, in the fall of this year, or autumn, as we say. Sticking with the Vintage Collection, but jumping all the way forward to spring next year, we've got a few more announcements. First up, we've got the ARC Trooper Jesse with a removable helmet, and he looks kind of cool. Then there's also Death Watch Airborne Trooper. Just a name like that just sounds kind of wicked. Death Watch Airborne Trooper. Yeah, I'm kind of down with that. Then we got ourselves the Mandalorian Super Commando Captain. Again, I don't know if this is a figure that people are particularly familiar with or a character that people are familiar with, but he looks kind of cool, and honestly, with expanded universe type Star Wars stuff, that's all I can go on. And finally, we've got the Imperial Death Trooper 4-pack with 1 captain and 3 troopers. And hey, look, if you're a member of a squad called the Imperial Death Troop, you might want to reassess your allegiances, I mean, I'm not saying if you're a soldier you have to be part of, like, the Super Cuddle Brigade, but the Imperial Death Troop, I would have one of those come to Jesus meetings with my friends and be like, guys, are we the baddies? Then we've got something called the Prototype Edition Retro Collection. I'm not too sure what the deal is with this, but the whole bunch of multicolored Chewbaccas. I got nothing. I don't know. They look colourful, though. They look. I was going to say they look chewy, but like literally, it looks like a gummy sweet. You should be like, oh, delicious. I'd give it back to the mayor of Springfield, Joe Quimby. He'd be like, why are there bite marks in this? It's like, well, why did you make it out of a gummy? It was never made out of a gummy. They look bizarre, but I'm sure someone's going to like them. Then something a bit different. We've got the Trapper Wolf X-Wing pilot helmet. That seems to be a big kind of side thing that people are collecting now, is the Star Wars helmets. I say that like it's a brand new thing. I'm sure people have been collecting replica helmets for decades, but there you go. There's another one, and it looks kind of cool. You can just put it on, sit in your couch, pretend you're in the X-Wing, like stay on target, pew, all that kind of stuff. I don't know what people do with helmets. Stick them on your wall, I suppose. Yeah, that actually makes more sense. Nah, come on, you play with them, don't you? Come on, be honest. I know I would. Then we got some pipeline reveals. So not actual figure reveals, but just some sort of announcements as to what's, well, in the pipeline. So first up, we've got the Clatoonian Trooper. Never heard of Clatoonians, but there you go. Then we also have Artillery Stormtrooper. All right, that makes a bit more sense, does what it says on the tin. Then we got Luke Skywalker from The Mandalorian. So basically a slightly weird looking Luke Skywalker, in this guy's humble opinion. And then you've got a Death Trooper. And the Death Troopers, yeah, they're kind of wicked, actually. You can't go wrong with terrifying killer androids. That's just badass. And then also you've got good old Grogu, and also there is a figure for Miggs Mayfield as well. Whew! And that was all of the Fan First Wednesday Star Wars reveals, and I think I just revealed my ignorance on Star Wars. But hey, you can't be an expert on everything, or in my case, anything. Okay, look, this next one is only for super high rollers, but I wanted to share it because I'm a huge fan of Aliens, and this statue of Ellen Ripley by Prime One Studios, direct from the Aliens movie. Oh, this looks so cool. Should do for $1,000, but hey, look, if you can't take it with you, you gotta spend it on something, and if you've got anything left over after food and rent, you might as well drop $1,000 on an Ellen Ripley statue, because go on, treat yourself. Especially when it looks like this. I mean, this just looks incredible. So you've got Ellen Ripley standing there in Hadley's Hope with the pulse rifle, with the ammunition. If you order it direct from Prime One Studios, it comes with a face hugger egg as well. There's all these light up features in the diorama, and you can see me getting excited talking about it, and I'm not even gonna buy it. Even if it was like 1/10 of that price, I'd still be like, I don't know, that's still a spicy meatball. But just look at the details of the Sigourney Weaver face there. They've just captured that beautifully. I just want to go and watch Aliens now, because it's still, after 35 years, one of the most badass movies ever seen. And it baffles me that some of you kids haven't even watched it, because you're like, that's an old movie. I've got other stuff to do. I've got to play my Pokemons and my whatever kids do. I don't know. I'm 40. I haven't got a clue anymore. But go, for the love of God, go and watch Aliens. Even if you've seen it 1,000 times like I have, go and watch it again. Because you'll just sit there and go like, oh yeah, I remember how utterly incredible this is. Yeah, and speaking of utterly incredible, this statue looks utterly incredible as well. If anyone out there actually has that kind of money and decides to go and buy it, let me know. I'd be really intrigued. Storm Collectibles have shown more images of their Paul Phoenix figure from Tekken. Now, we've only got 2 pictures, so it's not exactly a whole showcase, but it gives us a much better, much clearer look at the figure. It doesn't really tell us anything that we wouldn't have already sort of known, because we kind of know what to expect with Storm Collectibles, besides a few little outliers here and there where we'll be surprised by like, yikes! That's the face you went for? With Paul, it looks like, no, that looks pretty much exactly like Paul from Tekken. So if you want to collect this Tekken line that they're doing, which do all seem pretty wicked, then this is going to be a great addition. He looks really cool. Big spiky hair, got the red jumpsuit and some nice power effects too. All those together, you got yourself a Paul. Another interesting little oddity from Coup Models, that I'm seeing more items from this manufacturer, supplier, distributor kind of like sent my way on Facebook. They got this pumpkin dude, and you guys know me, I love Halloween motifs and styles and all that kind of thing. So a dude with a big pumpkin head, that's instantly going to get my attention. Then by the looks of things, he's like a hip hop bank robber. Yeah, that's just quirky, bonkers, stupid enough for me to really, really want. I don't know if I'd get him, because I think it's like, it's an import kind of thing. Not that easy to get your hands on, but I really like showing it off because I love the creativity, I love the design, I love just showcasing these kinds of things with you guys. So what do you think? Is this the kind of thing that you'd be interested in? Or would you be like, why would I want some made up random pumpkin bank robber dude? It doesn't mean anything to anyone, and I just say, doesn't have to. It just looks wicked. That's good enough for me. And look, if I was going to rob a bank, I'd probably do, yeah, you know what? If I was going to be a criminal, I would be like a career motif kind of criminal. You know how like in Point Break, they had the dead presidents and they all wore the president masks? I'd be that dude. I'd be like the pumpkin robber. And, you know, I wouldn't hurt anyone. I'd just be very, very polite, but I'd have like a pumpkin mask and be like, give me all your money. They'd like, don't make me use this gun. And they'd be like, sir, that's a potato in your hand. And I'm like, yeah, but I didn't want to scare you, you know? I'd be a terrible bank robber. Speaking of scaring, and Halloween actually, Trick or Treat Studios have their life-size Chucky doll. Why? Why? Why would you want this in your house? Maybe you're a lot tougher and braver than I am. I'm not a superstitious person, but I am a little stitious. Either way, I would not want a life-size Chucky doll in my house. No, thank you. But if you do want one, then you can pick it up and just sleep with one eye open for the rest of your life, I guess. Now, this figure costs $599.99. It costs $600. The centers of price rhetoric. I don't know why I waste time saying that when I could just say $600. I'm going to try and do that. Unfortunately, I'm like Ron Burgundy and Anchorman. If you put it in front of me, it's what I'm going to say. But look at all the extras and stuff you get. You can really terrify yourself in multiple different ways. What's not to love? So yeah, if you want to terrify yourself, then you can get a hold of this guy. $600, all the accessories, the cloth goods, all that jazz. I just, the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, nope, absolutely not. But if you still want to live in abject fear but don't have $600 to spend, there is a cheaper option as well. You can get the Chucky Good Guy doll version, which is basically a recreation of the normal sort of doll when it's not actually terrorizing and murdering people, it's just the dead-eyed good guy character, which is equally scary in different ways. Then you can get that cheaper option without as many of the bells and whistles. That one retails for only $200 and it will ship at the same time as its more expensive cousin on December 5th. So just in time for Christmas. Yay! And then finally, a fun little accessory that would go with either one of these is the voodoo knife that Charles Lee, is it Charles Lee Ray? I think it's Charles Lee Ray, that's the name of the guy, that he uses to try and transfer his essence into the Chucky doll or into little Andy's body or whatever. It's the voodoo knife, basically. And that looks kind of cool. I do love movie prop replicas, and that, you know, just funnily like a knife you could stab someone with, that's not scary. the Chucky doll, that's terrifying. But yeah, getting the knife as an accessory to go with the doll, that's really cool. And that's only about $15, so a little bit more manageable. Super 7 have revealed more information about their G.I. Joe Reaction Wave 3 figures. So of course these are the small, card-back, very retro-looking figures, and they're making a whole ton of them. So this is some serious army building stuff here, okay? So what they're going to do is they're going to include 9 variations of female G.I. Joe combat engineers, and also to go on top of that, to kind of balance out the sides, they're going to have 9 different versions of Cobra Snakeling factory workers. And these are going to be available from around about mid-May, but there's no exact date listed yet. And then, of course, the 6 previously announced figures that are already kind of starting this line are your real big-time classics. You got Roadblock, then also there's Flint, you got Snake Eyes, of course, because you've got to have Snake Eyes. Then there's Cobra Commander, Baroness, and finally Firefly. So if you like your retro, old-school card-back figures, then yeah, this is a good time for you. Not content with just G.I. Joes, Super 7 have also teased their Captain Crocodile figure from their Disney wave. This is probably a reaction figure as well, but with just one picture to go on, you can't say for certain, but it's most likely because that seems to be what they're running with. Looks like he's got a nice little cloth cape to go with him. I really dig the crocodile design. Reminds me of King K. Rool. Is it King K. Rool from Donkey Kong? I think that's who I'm thinking of. But yeah, he looks super fun. It's funny, I didn't recognize the character at first, and like I know my Disney, but I guess it's been a long time since I saw Robin Hood. The stuff with anthropomorphic animals is always kind of funny because it always brings up that kind of like question of like, do you eat meat? Because like, what meat are you eating? Like, are there like anthropomorphic cows that you're killing and stuff? And I know that Lion King kind of addressed that with like, well, you know, when we die, we become the grass, and you know, the antelopes eat the grass, and it's the circle of life. And I guess Simba could have said like, well, yeah, but that's when you die. Like, are the antelopes not saying, hey guys, why not wait until we die and then also eat the grass, you know? Rather than ripping our throats out. It's like, oh no, it's the circle of life. It's little Michael Disney problems. Going over to movie news now, and there is a little image that's been released from Rob Zombie's Munsters movie, and I'm kind of just curiously interested in this. I was never a huge Munsters fan. I mean, it was kind of before most of our times, but I think some of us grew up with reruns. I know I did. And it's kind of like Addams Family, but with more universal monsters. The dad is Frankenstein's monster, and there's the Bride of Frankenstein. The granddad is sort of the old school kind of Dracula. It's a fun time. And of course, interestingly, it's Rob Zombie's first non-horrific movie project, because Rob Zombie has kind of been the king of grindhouse sleaze for the last 20 years, and I'm sure that's a crown that he would happily wear. That's what he goes for with movies like House of a Thousand Corpses and the Halloween movies and the Devil's Rejects, like just gruesome, nasty, unpleasant stuff. And this is coming from a horror fan, but even I watch his movies and I'm like, no, this just depresses me. But this is his first family feature, and I'm wondering if he translates some of his weird, surreal style into the Munsters. That could actually work. That could be really good fun. So I'm intrigued to see what they do with this. But something that fills me with a little bit of trepidation is that the new Jurassic Park movie coming out this summer is going to be 2 hours and 26 minutes, the longest Jurassic Park movie ever made. And I've said it before and I'll say it again and I'll take it to my grave. Longer does not necessarily mean better, because I've watched some of the Michael Bay Transformers movies, okay? Those are the kind of times when you're praying for death and it won't come. So look, the Jurassic Park movies have been kind of a mixed bag, and the most recent ones have kind of been like sort of popcorn fare that was sort of throwaway, ridiculous. The most recent one was it just got so stupid. It just got so dumb that I was like, at first, okay, this is so dumb, I'm in on this. And then after so much time of dumbness, I was like, okay, I'm out of it now. I just want this movie to end. And then it ended in the stupidest way possible, where the little girl was like, no, they deserve to live, so I'm going to release all the dinosaurs into the world so that they can live and kill lots of people. Didn't really think that one through, did I? No, you didn't, little girl. And now we've got the next Jurassic Park movie where literally everyone is being eaten by dinosaurs. Thanks. So I think it could be good fun, because that's something that I've been wanting to see, is dinosaurs in the real world. Got kind of a dinosaur crisis kind of vibe to it. So I'm hoping it's going to be fun. But if it's not, that's a long time for me to be sat in a cinema not enjoying myself. So I'm actually kind of excited at the prospect. It feels like a real dice roll. Well, June's going to be here soon and we'll find out. Something I know that I love though is Better Call Saul! And the final season begins airing on April 19th on Netflix, and I'm so excited for this. I don't know if you guys, but because there's a few of you out there, I don't know if you watch Better Call Saul, if you're big Breaking Bad fans. I'm not a huge TV guy, but oh my goodness, I got addicted to Breaking Bad. And then Better Call Saul, once it got running, I loved it every bit as much. And it's going to be so painful to see it go. My goodness, Better Call Saul and Ozark both ending this year. That's going to be a tough void to fill, but I cannot wait to see how Jimmy McGill finally finishes evolving into Saul Goodman. It's going to be a good time. It starts in a couple of weeks, or just 1 week, 1.5 weeks. Either way, however long it is, I can't wait. In video game news, Remedy slash Rockstar have announced that they are remaking Max Payne 1 and 2. And this is kind of cool, because in the early 2000s, I was a big Max Payne fan. I remember working at Blockbuster Video and I got to rent Max Payne. And no way, it was on PC, so I wouldn't have rented it. I played it one way or another, all right? And this was back in the time when bullet time was the thing. It was a heck of a bullet time to be alive. And Max Payne was quite groundbreaking at the time. Now things have been done and reiterated and repeated a bajillion times. But back in the early 2000s, when you were double jumping, double gun firing in slow motion, John Woo style, dude, that was the tits. And those first two games were really, really cool. So if they're gonna reimagine them, remake them with a modern control scheme, beautiful graphics, but the same just wicked ultra-violence, gunplay, slow motion, bullet time, yeah, I'm gonna be all in on that. And I did it, folks, just for the benefit of this channel, being the philanthropist that I am. I went and I watched Morbius, and yeah, at least now I can say with authority, it is as bad as people say it is. It's just a bad film. It's just simple as that. It's poorly written, and it looks dull to watch, and nothing really happens, and it's about, an hour and 45 minutes of my life that I'm never going to get back. And I would tell you about what happens in the movie, but, 5 minutes after walking out, forgotten about it already. It's just a nothing film of just blah. It looks like every other Sony Spider-Verse movie. Got a grey, blue, depressing, boring kind of tinge to it. The story is just like, there's not much of anything. Stuff just kind of happens, and you don't really care too much. Save yourself. Because the problem is, it's not even so bad that it's good. It's just bland. It's the blandest thing on the menu. Because it wants to be scary, but also it doesn't, because it wants to have a low rating. And it wants to be a little bit funny, but it can't, because it's such a serious film. And it just fails in everything. What I will say though is people like to dunk on Jared Leto. He's fine. He's perfectly fine in this, but that's all he is. I mean, there's no one who's particularly bad except the film itself. There's some good actors in there, but they've got nothing to work with, and Jesus, just CGI nonsense that doesn't really mean anything to you. And honestly, seriously, they could have actually swapped out the last 5-minute fight scene with the last 5-minute fight scene from Venom 2, and I wouldn't have noticed the difference. Just one swirling red thing and a swirling black thing in a building site, looking like they're just swirling and twirling and not doing anything, and then it's over. Okay, can I go now? And that was Morbius. On the brighter side though, I did do a double bill. I watched Morbius and then I went to see Sonic 2. I had my Morbius vegetables and then had my Sonic dessert. And as a palate cleanser, that was really good fun. You know what? Newsflash, shock horror. Sonic 2 is a children's movie, which is fine. That was what I was expecting going in. And as a big overgrown child myself, I had a great time with it. It was just light-hearted, unpretentious fun. And sometimes that's all you want. It wasn't trying to bog you down with the message or what's the nuance of the character and the arc they're going through. It's no, it's just Sonic. It's Sonic fighting Dr. Robotnik with Knuckles and Tails, and it's a really fun time. There's a couple of things though. It's longer than it needs to be. There's two sort of scenes that just, they don't need to be there. There's a bit in Siberia, in a bar, where it's this is a pointless waste of time. It's not entertaining, it's not funny, and it's pretty much a retread of a bar scene in the first film. So it's why are we here? That's 10 minutes you could have shaved off. And then there's a whole subplot with a wedding and the FBI and stuff, and it's you don't need that either. That's 10 minutes of unfunny material where it's I don't know, was that put in for the adults to have a rom-com kind of thing? Because it didn't need it. Jim Carrey is wonderful, but his Robotnik isn't really a character. He's just a one-man quip machine, but he's an entertaining one-man quip machine, so that's absolutely fine. And also the amount of deep cut, super deep cut references, they've done some really nice winks and nods to the franchise itself. And one little thing that I found was kind of funny was it's got James Masters, or Marsden, either way, Cyclops from the original X-Men films. He's always very likable. I like to watch him do his thing. There's a scene where he's feeling very insecure because he's playing volleyball with this super buff dude with his shirt off, and the guy's hey, I'm a buff dude, I work out. And he's yeah, I totally work out too. But the thing is, when he does his little, what's meant to be the pathetic double guns bicep flex, you see he's actually jacked, but he's wearing a t-shirt, they're trying to hide it. But it's dude, you're not fooling anyone. You work out. You're a big dude. It's kind of funny. I guess in Hollywood terms, no, he's a scrawny weakling. It's geez, talk about unrealistic body standards. He's oh, I feel so ashamed, I'm such a small dude. It's I can see your biceps through your shirt. Get out of here. Anyway, Sonic 2. It's a really good time. And finally, I always like to try and finish with a bit of funny news or a weird little story or something. And I read recently an explanation as to why the X-Men Sentinel villain Nimrod is called Nimrod. because it always seemed like a strange name because, like a lot of people, I mean, I'm sure that a lot of folks are going to say, yeah, Dave, I knew this already, but I didn't. It's news to me. I always thought Nimrod is like an insult. It's like an idiot. You Nimrod. It's a very sort of 50s sounding insult. I imagine Biff Tannen being like, McFly, you Nimrod. But that's where it always came from. I was like, it's always weird. This terrifying mutant hunter is called Nimrod. Idiot. But the reason for that now, I understand, is that Nimrod was the name of a biblical hunter, like a famous, well, in like famous Bible type terms, he was a hunter. And so in Looney Tunes, this is where it's going. In the Bugs Bunny Elmer Fudd cartoon, Bugs Bunny would refer to Elmer Fudd as Nimrod, as in a reference to him being a hunter. But of course, in the Looney Tunes, Elmer Fudd is always portrayed as being an idiot, and Bugs Bunny, with his sarcastic kind of delivery, Nimrod sounds like an insult. And kids who watch Looney Tunes would have probably heard that and gone, oh, Nimrod. That must mean idiot. And then it became in the popular vernacular that Nimrod means idiot. But of course, when Nimrod the Sentinel was created in the X-Men comics, the writer, who I don't know who it was that came up with Nimrod, I'm sure my ignorance, comment below and let me know. He must have thought, nah, people are smart. They'll know what I mean when I call him Nimrod. They'll know that I mean the biblical hunter. Because he hunts mutants, I'll call him Nimrod. No, maybe most people were smart enough to get that, but I wasn't. I was just like, why is he called Nimrod? That makes him sound stupid. So there you go, guys. That's why Nimrod is called Nimrod, and that is good news for today. What did you think of the various stories? Comment below, let me know. And if you like what you see here and you want to see more, then join the 6-1 Clicks by clicking the like, share, and subscribe buttons. I'm not going to do that again. And until next time, keep displaying model behavior.